Imagine being a child, trapped in a nightmare you can't escape, where your only friend is a voice whispering from the shadows. What if that voice wasn't your friend at all? Tonight, we unravel the chilling story of Bela, an innocent girl who crossed paths with a sinister entity known only as Other Mommy. Stay with us, because this tale will leave you questioning the safety of your own home. Let's begin our first part of the haunting of Bela. Bela was only 8 years old when the whispers started. It was a quiet night, the kind where even the wind refused to stir, and Bela lay wide-eyed in her bed. Her parents were downstairs arguing, their voices muffled through the walls. That's when she first heard it, a soft, soothing voice calling her name. Bela, don't cry. I'm here with you. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but then she felt it. The cold caress of fingers brushing against her hair. Her heart raced, but the voice was oddly comforting. I'm your other mommy, it cooed. I'll always take care of you. Bela didn't tell anyone about the voice. She had learned to keep secrets, especially with her parents so distant and preoccupied. But over the next few days, the voice became more insistent. It would tell her stories at night, stories of love, safety, and a world free of her parents' shouting matches. The voice was warm, maternal, everything Bela wished her real mother could be. Then, one day, Bela woke up to find her favorite doll missing from her nightstand. Instead, there was a note, written in a child's handwriting. Let me into your heart, Bela. I'll give you anything you want. Bela, let me into your heart. The words on the note lingered in her mind like a haunting melody. That night, the voice of Other Mommy returned. But this time, it wasn't a soothing whisper. It was insistent, almost pleading. Did you see my gift, Bela? Don't you want more? Just say yes, and I'll take care of everything for you. For a fleeting moment, Bela considered it. She longed for the comfort the voice promised, a life without the constant fighting between her parents. But something deep inside her resisted. I don't need you, she whispered into the darkness. A chilling silence followed. The next morning, strange things began to happen. The family cat, Milo, was pacing frantically in front of Bela's room, hissing at the door as if something unseen were inside. Objects in her room started to shift on their own. Her books stacked in perfect pyramids, her drawings rearranged to depict dark forests and shadowy figures with eyes that followed her wherever she moved. One evening, as Bela sat coloring, the lights flickered and dimmed. The voice returned, louder this time. Why won't you let me in, Bela? I can give you a world where no one will ever hurt you again. The room grew icy cold. Bela's crayons began rolling off the table one by one, stopping just short of her feet, forming the word, yes. Terrified, Bela screamed, drawing her parents upstairs. They found her curled in a corner, trembling and pointing at the word on the floor. But when they looked, it was gone. Frustrated, her father scolded her for causing a scene, and her mother simply rolled her eyes. That night, Bela cried herself to sleep, feeling more alone than ever. But she wasn't alone. In the corner of her room, shadows gathered, shifting and moving as though alive. The faint sound of a lullaby filled the air, and Other Mommy whispered, "You'll see, my sweet girl. You need me more than you think." Bela woke to find her bedroom window wide open, even though she remembered locking it the night before. The morning air was thick with unease, and the scent of roses, a smell her real mother never wore, lingered in the room. Milo, the cat, refused to enter, sitting just outside her door and staring at the shadows with unblinking eyes. At breakfast, Bela hesitantly told her parents about the voice, the moving objects, and the strange messages. Her father dismissed it outright. "It's just your imagination, Bela. Maybe you should lay off those scary books." Her mother muttered something about needing to focus on her work and left the table. That afternoon, while Bela played in the backyard, she felt a tug on her hair. She spun around, expecting to see a sibling or a neighbor, but no one was there. A cold wind rustled through the trees, carrying a faint voice that whispered, "Play with me, Bela." The strange occurrences escalated that evening. The family photo albums had been pulled from the shelves and scattered across the living room. Bella's father blamed her, but she swore she hadn't touched them. When her mother went to pick them up, she gasped. One of the photos, a picture of the whole family smiling at a picnic, had been altered. The face of her mother was scratched out, replaced by an eerie drawing of a woman with button eyes and a stitched mouth. Her father stormed off, muttering about childish pranks, but her mother couldn't shake the image. She tucked Bella into bed that night with a nervous smile, urging her to sleep and promising to check on her later. But when Bella closed her eyes, the room felt alive. The air grew heavy, and the faint sound of footsteps circled her bed. Then came the voice, closer now, almost inside her ear. "I'm here for you, Bella. I can make it all better. You just need to trust me. Say yes." Bella clutched her blanket tightly, fighting the urge to scream. When she opened her eyes, she saw it, a figure standing in the corner. It was a woman, but her features were wrong. The button eyes gleamed in the dim light, and her stitched mouth pulled into an unsettling smile. "Don't be afraid," other mommy cooed. "I'll take care of everything." The next morning, Bella found another note on her bedside table. This one simply read, "Let me in, or I'll have to show you what happens when you say no." Bella's house no longer felt like home. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls, lingering even when the lights were on. The sound of faint laughter echoed through empty rooms, always just out of reach. The once warm family dinners had turned into tense, silent affairs. Her parents spoke in hushed tones, their faces etched with stress, but they didn't seem to notice the creeping coldness that enveloped the house. One evening, as Bella sat at her desk trying to finish her homework, her pencil snapped. Annoyed, she reached for another, only to find a small, folded note tucked into the drawer. It wasn't hers. The handwriting was jagged, frantic. "It doesn't have to hurt. Let her in." The room suddenly felt suffocating. She glanced over her shoulder and saw the mirror on her wardrobe. For a moment, she thought she caught movement in its reflection, a shadow that shouldn't have been there. Before she could investigate, her father's voice called from downstairs, sharp and impatient. "Bella, get down here now." She hurried to the living room, where her parents stood arguing. On the coffee table was a shattered family photo frame. "I didn't do it," Bella blurted before anyone could accuse her. Her father didn't believe her. "First the photos, now this? What's going on with you, Bella?" "It wasn't me," she pleaded, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's her." "Who?" her mother asked, her tone softer but no less concerned. "Other mommy," Bella whispered. Her father scoffed and walked away, but her mother froze. "What did you say?" Bella explained everything, the notes, the figure in the corner of her room, the voice in the shadows. Her mother paled but tried to dismiss it, brushing it off as a child's overactive imagination. Still, her eyes betrayed her fear. That night, Bella's room felt colder than ever. She lay awake, clutching Milo, who now refused to leave her side. The sound of scratching started at her window. She tried to ignore it, but the scratching grew louder, more insistent. Suddenly, her lamp flickered and went out. In the darkness, the voice returned, smooth and sinister. "Bella, why do you resist me? I could make everything so much easier." The room filled with the scent of roses, and then the shadows began to move. Bella watched in terror as the figure of other mommy emerged from the darkness, her button eyes glinting and stitched mouth curling into a wider smile. "Your family doesn't believe you," she whispered, her voice like silk laced with venom. "But I do. I've always been here for you. Just say the words, and I'll take care of everything." But Bella didn't speak. She squeezed her eyes shut, silently praying for the nightmare to end. When she opened them, the figure was gone, but the sense of dread remained, heavy and oppressive. The next morning, another note waited on her pillow. This one was different. It wasn't a request. It was a threat. "Say yes or I'll make them all disappear." Bella could barely keep herself together. The note on her pillow had shaken her to the core, and every glance at her family felt like a countdown to something terrible. Her parents, oblivious to the growing tension, continued to dismiss her claims. But the house was changing. Lights flickered even during the day. Doors creaked open on their own. The air seemed thick, making it hard to breathe. That evening, as she helped her mother set the table for dinner, the kitchen light began to hum. It grew louder and louder, the sound grating like nails on a chalkboard. Suddenly, the bulb exploded, plunging the room into darkness. Her mother screamed, and Bela instinctively grabbed her hand. From the corner of the room came the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. Bela's mother fumbled for the flashlight in the drawer, clicking it on just in time to catch a fleeting shadow darting out of the room. "Who's there?" her mother shouted, her voice trembling. No response. They joined Bela's father in the living room, where he tried to reassure them, but even he seemed rattled. "Probably just the wiring," he muttered unconvincingly. That night, Bela refused to sleep. She sat on her bed with Milo, her stuffed dog, clutched tightly. The house was eerily silent, and yet she could feel it watching her. The air felt alive, charged with an unseen presence. Around midnight, the wardrobe door creaked open slowly. Bella's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the darkness inside. And then she saw them, two faint glimmers of light. Button eyes. "Bela," the voice came, soft and chilling. "You're running out of time. Do you want them to suffer because of you?" The shadows in the room began to twist and shift, forming shapes that almost looked human but were wrong. Too tall, too thin, their movements jerky and unnatural. They surrounded her bed, their button eyes glowing faintly. "Leave me alone!" Bela screamed, her voice breaking. The entities paused, and the voice of other mommy grew louder, more insistent. "All you have to do is let me in. Say the words and I'll protect you. I'll protect them." "No!" Bela cried, tears streaming down her face. The figures dissolved into the shadows, and the room fell silent once more. But Bela knew this was only a warning. The next morning, Bela tried to explain everything to her parents again, but they didn't believe her. Worse, her father grew angry. "I've had enough of this nonsense. You're scaring your mother and causing chaos in this house." Feeling defeated, Bela retreated to her room, clutching Milo. She glanced at the mirror on her wardrobe and froze. Written across the glass in jagged letters was a chilling message. "They're mine now." Her breath caught as she heard a scream from downstairs. She rushed out of her room to find her mother standing in the living room, staring at the shattered family photo on the floor. Her father was nowhere to be seen. "Mama," Bela whispered, but her mother didn't respond. She just stood there, trembling, as the lights began to flicker wildly. And then, from the hallway, came the sound of a soft, melodic humming. The voice of other mommy echoed through the house. "Time's up, Bela." The house was alive with chaos. Lights flickered erratically, shadows danced on the walls, and the air buzzed with an unnatural energy. Bela stood frozen at the top of the staircase, gripping the banister as her mother's scream echoed through the house. "Mama," she called out, her voice trembling. No answer. From the hallway, the melodic hum of other mommy grew louder, sinister and mocking. "Bela, my sweet girl, why fight what's inevitable? Just let me in." Bela ran down the stairs, her heart pounding. She found her mother in the living room, standing like a statue, her face pale and eyes blank. In her mother's trembling hand was the shattered family photo, the glass shards glittering like tears on the floor. "Mama, please," Bela begged, shaking her mother's arm, but it was as if she wasn't even there. Her father was still nowhere to be seen. A cold breeze swept through the house, carrying with it whispers in a language Bela couldn't understand. The shadows on the walls began to converge, pooling together into a massive, writhing form. Two glowing button eyes appeared in the darkness, locking onto Bela. "You've been such a stubborn child," other mommy hissed, her voice dripping with malice. "But now it's too late. Your family is mine." "No!" Bela screamed, clutching Milo tightly to her chest. She stepped back as the shadowy figure advanced, the walls of the house warping and twisting as if the entity was unraveling reality itself. Suddenly, Bella remembered the words her grandmother had whispered to her when she was younger, a prayer meant to ward off evil. She began to recite it, her voice shaking but growing steadier with each word. The entity recoiled, its form flickering like a dying flame. "Stop!" Other mommy screeched, her voice a mix of rage and desperation. The shadows lashed out, trying to silence Bella, but a protective light seemed to emanate from the girl, keeping them at bay. The prayer reached its climax, and with a final scream, the entity imploded, sucking the shadows back into the depths of the house. The lights stopped flickering, and the oppressive energy lifted. Bella's mother collapsed onto the couch, her eyes refocusing as if waking from a terrible dream. "Bella!" she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Mama!" Bella cried, rushing to her side and hugging her tightly. Just then, the front door creaked open, and her father stumbled in, looking disoriented but unharmed. "What happened?" he asked, his voice heavy with confusion. Bella didn't answer. She simply clung to her parents, tears streaming down her face. The family moved out of the house the very next day, leaving behind everything except the essentials. They never spoke of the events again, but Bella knew that other mommy was still there, waiting for another child to lure into her web. And so ends the chilling tale of Bella and Other Mommy, a story of courage, resilience, and the power of faith in the face of unspeakable darkness.